Hello everyone, welcome to my YouTube channel, English for You. Today I want to talk about something that might be useful to people who first meet someone in either a casual setting or a formal setting. As you may know, there are different ways to say different things when you introduce yourself or when you're introducing others, whether you're in a casual or formal setting. So let me begin by first talking about when you first meet someone, what you might say in a casual or formal setting. So first, when you meet, let's say a friend of a friend's, and it's a very casual situation, you would simply say something like, "Nice to meet you." "Hey, how's it going? Nice to meet you." If you wanted to show a little bit more of a stronger emotion because it's somebody that you've been wanting to meet for a while, yet it's still casual and you don't want it to be too formal, then you would maybe emphasize that by using the word very and say, "It's very nice to meet you." "Hey, it's very nice to meet you." Now, if you're in a business setting, obviously, you need to be a little bit more formal, and you need to say it in a way that conveys that formalness. You would use something like, "It's a pleasure to meet you." It's a pleasure to meet you, to convey not the seriousness necessarily, but that it is in a formal setting. Now, the next thing I'm going to talk about is when you're introducing someone else. So let's say you're in a casual setting and you want to introduce a friend to another friend. Then in a casual way, you would simply say, "This is John. This is Amy. This is Fred. This is Sue." Very casual, just a couple of words. Now, if you're in a business setting, let's say you're in a business meeting or somebody, and you wanted to introduce one of your colleagues to somebody else, again, in a formal setting, you'd say something like, "I'd like to introduce you to John." Again, "I'd like to introduce you to John." A little bit more formal, and again, conveys the situation and where you're at that moment. Now, when you're asking what someone does for a living, their careers, this can be a little bit of a touchy situation depending on the culture. From what I understand, in the Asian culture, it's not really a big deal to just ask somebody right away, "Hey, what do you do for a living?" Now, here in the United States, that's not necessarily the case. You might need to be, you might get to know somebody a little bit better before you ask that. But depending on the situation, obviously, if it's a casual setting, it might not be such a big deal. Or if you're at a group meeting, or if you're at a business function, it would obviously be a good place to find out what they do for a living. So when you first meet someone in that situation and you want to find out what they do in a casual setting, might be a friend of a friend, you just say, "What do you do?" And that's implied that you're talking about their career. What do you do for a living? That's what you're saying. You're saying, "What do you do?" In a formal setting, though, if you're handing out business cards and you want to find out what they're doing, you would say something like, that's a little bit more cautious and a little bit more polite. You would say, may I ask what you do for a living? May I ask what you do for a living?" Again, that's a polite way of asking what they do. You're not being too forceful, but you'd like to know, "May I ask what you do for a living?" Now, at the conclusion of a first meeting, you got to know how to say goodbye. So, there are different ways, obviously, to say this as well. In a casual setting, when you say goodbye to a friend of a friend, and you just met him for the first time, and you want to meet him again, you'd simply say, "Let's keep in touch." "Hey, let's keep in touch, Fred. Let's keep in touch, Ann. Let's keep in touch, John." In a formal setting, it's more about making sure that you have an opportunity to get more information or to contact them again to follow up. If it's a job interview, obviously, you definitely want to follow up and be able to contact them again. In that type of situation, you may say, if it's a business setting, first of all, and you want to do future business with them, you might say something like, "May I have your contact information? May I have your contact information?" If it's an interview, and you definitely want to find out how you did, or you want to find out what your status is for a job application or a job interview, you would say something like, "I will be sure to follow up. I will be sure to follow up." Again, these are very polite ways of saying that you're going to follow up and that you want to contact them again. Now, finally, if you want to say, this is saying goodbye, there's a casual way and a formal way of saying, goodbye. If you're with a friend, again, if you're saying goodbye to a friend of friends, of somebody that you've just met, and it's a casual setting, you would simply say something like, great meeting you. It was great meeting you, John. It was great meeting you, Sue. Now, if it's a more of a formal setting, you would say something like, thank you for the invite. Thank you for the invite. That's a little bit more polite. And it's something that you would say like in a business setting or somewhere where you were invited to come and attend a seminar or something like that. You would say something like, thank you for the invite. So anyways, I hope that this lesson gave you a few different variations of ways to say things when you first meet someone. Again, it's not a cookie cutter. There are obviously many different ways that you could say the things that I talked about today, different ways to say it. But these are just a few ideas for you, and I hope it was helpful. And if this YouTube video was helpful, please remember to like my video and to subscribe to my YouTube channel. Again, English Hub for You. Thank you. See you during the next video.